Thursday, December 22nd. It is playoff time. I'm your host, Josh Grossman. With me, as always, Jeff Hahn, Landon Rush. Boys, are you guys ready for the playoffs?
Yeah, I guess. Whatever.
With us, we have our playoff managers, Chris Rowlands, Bryden Corey, and Matt Finner will be joining us. I don't know.
What's up, fellas?
Next time. Guys, are you excited for your playoff matchups?
Excited, a little stressed.
We need to turn up the excitement level here a little bit,
guys.
boys. Let's
Seriously.
go. Yeah. We're on volume 3. We need to go to
There
less
we
than 8.
go. Let's do this. All right, so we will basically talk playoffs, and that'll be our agenda for today. Real quick recap from last week. I'm not going to share any screens because there's too many people already. Landon didn't make the playoffs. BJV lost by .02, which I don't think I've seen a closer game before. And Finder had the high score. So, yeah, we have our playoffs. We are going to kick off with the Meet Your Playoff Managers. Landon, Jeff, and myself are going to give a little deep dive into the 4 playoff managers, and hopefully there'll be a lot of bashing and shit talking. So, Jeff, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I will start with Mr. Josh Grossman, team known as...
Boo.
I don't even know what your team name is. What's your team name now? Can't get enough
low score
points.
wins, right?
Low score wins.
Can't get off the waiver wire.
So this guy,
don't be hating.
He is the league leading in waiver wire moves this season with an 81, which is about 20 more than the closest person behind him. And he managed to change his team name 3 times to finally get his team enough motivation to churn out some wins here late in the season. So congratulations, I guess. But
it worked.
This team basically whined the manager all the way to the playoffs and showed us his frustration and his emotion on a weekly basis through regular team name changes. He managed to draft Pitts early on in the year, where it was a huge disappointment, but did also back that up with CMC, who was an extremely risky pick. But he also managed to draft Hill, who has certainly carried his team throughout the season and has had to navigate injuries to such players such as Godwin and Mike Williams. But savvy veteran as he is, continued to work and plot the waiver wire to get himself in the 4th round position of the fantasy football playoffs. So props to him. So some notable players on this man's roster at one time or another. He managed to pick up Dobbs, dropped him. Had Pacheco 2 times, picked him up and dropped him. And Mostert was also on his team at one time.
Oh, don't remind me.
Don't remind me about Mostert. Week 2, he picked up for a smooth $41 in a waiver wire bid Chris Godwin. All right. And that seemed to be a pretty good pickup here as of late. He had Fields earlier on in the season, dropped him, only to pick him up again, and then dropped him again. So he had him twice on his team. Jerick McKinnon once, but dropped him. Latavius Murray twice, dropped him both times. And proceeded to drop Geno for Trevor Lawrence, which, has been good lately, but Geno has certainly been respectable as of late as well. Let's see. Who else did he have here? Maybe some of the best moves that he's made on the waiver wire are the ones that he's made here in the this past week, though. Getting players like Tyler Algier, Kareem Hunt, and Zach Moss, all solid. And he managed to pick up tight end number 4 on the season, Evan Ingram. So that is a look into Josh Grossman's team.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
That's good. That's good.
Len, you want to go next, or should I?
Go ahead. I mean, I did Fender, so maybe wait a minute until he's here.
I did my deep dive on Chris Rowland. So Chris won the championship, and Chris, fact check me if any of this is wrong. because I spent like 15 minutes on it. Chris won the championship back in 2012, a decade ago. Since then, the best he's done is third the following year in 2013. And then
I don't think
he
that's
went
true.
on. That looks like he's in prison. Are you
He
okay?
looks
Blink
He's in
twice if you need help.
He's in
Jesus,
Guantanamo
man.
Bay.
Looks like an
Makeup on for the
Looks
show.
like he's seen some shit, man.
What's up?
He's
fellas?
being interrogated.
I thought that one Boston bomber died.
Bring it on. I'm in the basement.
My basement?
Of where?
Yeah.
Some warehouse somewhere.
All right, well,
chained to a chair somewhere. Gotcha.
We are doing manager deep dives. Let me finish up on Chris. So after his third place finish in 2013, he had a 5-year stretch where he finished no better than 8th.
What?
Oh man.
Yeah, not good. Jeff has consistently sort of referred to Chris as having the worst injury luck of any manager. But
Thank you.
I did my research. I didn't see that. Last year, Chris was killing it. Chris was killing it, and he lost Derrick Henry for the year. So rightfully so. But outside of that, there weren't any years where he lost anybody big. Like
Last year, there was a point where he couldn't even field a team when we
last
the whole team
year,
last
but
year.
I'm talking about over his career.
Okay.
This year, Chris has owned the league from the beginning. He had a really strong draft. He spent big on Austin Eckler, which proved to be the right running back to spend money on. His success, though, has mostly been due to correctly hitting on players at sort of the discount rates. A.J. Brown for $20, Josh Jacobs for $5, DeAndre Hopkins and Cordell Patterson for $3 each. He has not made a lot of relevant waiver moves, but he really hasn't had to because his roster has just been stocked from the top to the bottom. He did pick up Dobbins during his injury period, and I think that's going to be a big play for him this week. His team was probably one of the healthiest teams for most of the year, with Patterson missing only a few games and that being about it, until he lost Kyler for the year a couple weeks back, which of course is a big loss. This week against my team, Chris is projected to have the highest point total of the 4 teams, but Chris is 0-2 against me. So I expect him to lose again and be 0-3 to me as my Chris deep dive. Landon, do you want to tell us about the hostage?
Yes. So
I tried to move the
the
angle
old
a little
hostage
bit. You
in
can
the
at least
corner
see
there.
You can at least see a bathroom door now. It's not all just.
It's good they let you pee. That's
Yeah.
great.
There's,
Yeah,
there's the view. There he goes, the Papa shot in the corner there. There's the basement.
Love it.
all right, if you say so.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that deep of a dive with the history and everything, but it's very well known that Matt Fender is one of the only, well, besides Bryden, who is new this year, so it doesn't really count. But Matt Fender,
Very well
along
known.
with very well known that Matt Fender and Brian Vranick are the only 2 people not to win the league up until this point. So pressure is on Mr. Fender here.
I feel
Good
it.
moves. Yeah, looks like it.
I
So
feel it for sure.
good moves that he has made throughout the year. Picking up Brian Robinson for $3. Chris Olave, who I dropped.
You love
Hence
that
the
move.
team name. Yep. Even though he's kind of fallen off as of late, but Chris Olave was a really good player for a long time. You got him for $8. The Dallas defense for $1. And then Zay Jones for $4, but you haven't had him for that long, but still a good pickup. It's just some unlucky or bad moves. You dropped Dalton Schultz and Jeff Wilson, but Jeff Wilson only had a couple game stretch where he was kind of relevant, so it's not that big of a drop or a drop off, I would say. But Fender has proven to be his fantasy football knowledge and prowess has definitely gone up lately, as of he's been the laughingstock throughout the course of his career. And he is very respectable as of late. His team hasn't had many injuries to deal with this year. Even though he's in second place, though, as far as luck is concerned, he's 5th in total points and only 2 teams have fewer points against than he does. In week 6, he beat Moreau by 1.1 points. And in week 9, he beat our own Hahndo by 1.14 points. If he loses those 2 games, he wouldn't be in the playoffs at the moment. And then unlucky, he did lose to Rolance in week 14 by 0.18
That was
points.
brutal.
So that's a pretty
Dominated.
close game. Not as close as the Varanic game this week, but pretty damn close. But that's my deep dive into Olave can stay.
Thank you.
That's all I
Matt,
got.
I did want to ask you, Matt, this is your second year in a row of being in the playoffs. What do you attribute your recent success to? Did you change anything in recent years, or
I just tell
getting
myself
lucky?
I want to be like Josh Grossman.
Usually works.
That makes sense.
I mean, I do a lot of reading during the week. I started listening to a couple podcasts. All the stardom situm rankings, just like everything about my players who I'm going against. Just to make the right decisions. So I've started doing that the last couple of years.
Nice, it's paid off. All right,
Which
Jeff,
podcast?
Fantasy
Inception?
Footballers.
Inception.
Ours.
That's the one I found it on the Odyssey app. I just looked for fantasy football podcasts on the Odyssey app and started listening to it.
It's a
Football's
good one.
All
right, so
Jeff,
we're
do you
looking
wanna-
at
yeah, please.
BC's Touch Me Nation, and let's see. We know early on in the season he went and drafted guys. Got himself Allen, Adams, and Andrews. The triple A effect there. Spent about $100 on those 3 guys alone. Looks pretty good to start off the season with, but as of late, it looks like the Jackson injury really hurt the value of Mark Andrews. But Adams, along with some nice depth pieces like Metcalf for $13 and Miles Sanders for $4, have really supported his team into the playoffs here. So he lost a stud early on in the season with Breece Hall. He also lost Penny, which was looked pretty good there early. And he spent $27 on Akers, but I guess he's been somewhat serviceable here as of late. But earlier on in the season, he didn't do much at all. So the real kick in the dick, though, was when he dropped Chris Godwin after week 1. And I know he was injured. He was battling some injuries. He's going off an injury and that sort of stuff. But then he went and spent $11 on a Rex Burkhead instead after dropping Godwin. So picked up Burkhead. The very next transaction that he made, he dropped Burkhead for Mostert and then dropped Mostert for Greg Dortch. And even though he had Andrews, so he really didn't need a tight end at that point, but ended up spending $22 and basically the span of a week there from his fab budget that basically went non-existent. So spent $19 on Naheem Hines. It doesn't look like a great move. He had Jeff Wilson Jr. at one time, but dropped him for Keandre Williams. What's the guy's name? Okay.
Yeah.
And then had McKinnon on his team at one time as well, but dropped him for Gainwell. And I suppose maybe he was looking to back up handcuff Sanders at that point, but proceeded to drop Gainwell immediately after for Cooks. Why am I blanking on his first name from Buffalo?
James
James Cook, which, is okay. All right. But that was, looking at McKinnon now and what he's done here in the back half of the season, that would have been a nice piece for him on his back half of his team, his flex plays. Did make a nice waiver wire pickup midseason, picking up DPJ. But, as I look through some of these transactions that he made this season, it seems to be a team with some unexpected winners, but what could have been?
What could have been? Well, I'm a guy who likes to have a set lineup and then build like maybe some depth or some reserve pieces beyond that. There's nothing worse than getting yourself in your own head about who to sit and who to start in a given week. I hate those types of situations. So I'd rather have a shallower team of higher quality than dispersing the talent around. I can't say that waiver wire moves have really been a part of that as much as they've just been sort of whatever, my flight of fancy takes me on a given week. Would I like to have a couple of those back? Sure. Did I expect some of the ones that worked out as well as they have to have worked out as well as they did? Probably not, but
No,
like I did, that's fantasy.
I get it. It's the roller coaster of fantasy football, right?
Hey,
my
that's
friend?
showbiz. That's showbiz, baby.
That's one word to describe fantasy football for you, a roller coaster, right?
Yep.
Let's take it back to week 7, what do you think?
Little thing with
Yeah,
Bryden. Bryden offered me Miles Sanders for Darrell Henderson after I believe it was week 1, and I turned that deal down. And who knows?
Well,
that
that is lucky for me, and I've complained about this to most of you publicly and privately. This team has a serious this league has a serious aversion to making trades. Only 3 trades were executed all season, and 2 of them were executed by Mr. Jeff Hahn. One of them will go down in history as maybe the worst. Maybe the worst deal ever. I believe it was trading Cooper Kupp for Justin Fields or something along those lines. It was a bad for the other guy. Yeah.
Mike Evans.
So I don't think we'll see that. I don't think we'll see that guy pulling trig on any trades anytime soon. He's about to be gun shy as a mother from that. But we could, I think Fender, BJV. I tried to explore some trades with you guys and got absolutely nowhere. So I don't know. I haven't looked at
BJV. He doesn't pay enough attention.
So what would
he think? Guy seems to think all his players should be gold. So I don't know.
I got nervous when I lost Ertz, so I wanted Dawson Knox, but I was able to pick someone up, so that didn't have to go through.
Okay.
Brad, what would you suggest in a way to motivate trades? Anything you could think of that?
I don't know. It's tough because this is an auction league. I mean, if this was a snake draft league and you could trade draft picks, that could be something that you could throw into the mix to make.
For the next year's draft picks?
Yeah. I don't know. It's fine. If people like their, I've been burned enough times by trades. Maybe it's fine that it's not a big trading league because I don't know. On the in the balance, I don't know if trading has always worked out better for me than not. So whatever.
I think it's more people don't know the value of their own players, though. Yeah, I forget, Jeff. Some of us were texting about it. I think, and you guys talked about it in Dynasty, especially with draft picks. People don't know the value of players, draft picks. Obviously, everyone wants the best deal for them, and it's like, how do you come to that compromise? And it's hard for people to compromise when obviously they're trying to build the best team possible.
Yeah, it needs to be a little bit of a win-win, right? So that's what obviously at both sides want to feel like they're getting something, an advantage.
Yeah, but you can't no trade is going to come away feeling like you got the best deal. Like if you feel like you fleeced the other guy, it's either you're just wrong or the trade's not going to happen in the first place. Nobody comes away from a trade feeling like they got the world. So if that's what you're expecting, you're never going to pull one off.
Well, I think part of it also is that it's a 10-team league and the starting roster is pretty small. So you can find people you can find receivers on waivers. It's 1 QB, so you don't need to make trades for QB very often. And I think that's good point. There's only 10 teams, so the fact that BJV and Moreau never look at their team, for trades makes it you're already down to 8 teams that you could possibly 7 other teams.
Yeah, BJV, and I mean I've beat him like a dead horse all year. It's insane that guy didn't win the league going away because if you look at his running backs, it's truly incredible. Yeah. It'll go down in history as one of the most mismanaged fantasy seasons of all time.
He participated in the draft for about 10 minutes, got his 2 running backs, and then did nothing for about an hour.
The guy had Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, the Detroit running back, and
Jonathan Taylor.
And I know those guys have been hurt. Some of them have been hurt. But, when one goes down for a week and you don't know it's going to be long-term, flip him for some value. Shore up your wide receivers, buddy. Do anything.
I tried to offer him a wide receiver at the beginning of the season for someone like Joe Mixon, and he turned it down.
Yeah, I've complained about this before, too, because 3 or 4 managers at least, even though it's a 1 QB league, have a second QB on their bench that is top quality that they refuse to get rid of. And I think BJV was one of the guys who's like, I like to have a good QB on the bench just in case. I'm like, oh my god, you're just wasting space.
Well, I get having one on the bench. I had Aaron Rodgers on my bench most of the year. Not because I like to have him, because I could find somebody probably just as good on the waiver wire, but as a trade chip. I mean, the guy's the reigning 2-time MVP. If somebody loses a good quarterback, I thought there might be an opportunity to offer him up to get, potentially a flex player. Yeah.
Yeah, he just
Why I offered you
didn't turn out
a
to be
tight
very
end
good.
trade, because you were carrying 2, and the one on your bench was pretty decent.
Yeah, I should have traded Andrews.
Brian, do you have any other complaints about
Grossman should have traded Pittman.
Super?
I mean,
No, I've aired all my grievances. Festivus is over. That's okay.
Jeff, do you want to do your Hahndo Huddle for us?
yeah, I can hit it. I tried to touch on some guys specifically for our contenders this week, right? So,
Thanks.
yeah, I tried to make it a little bit relevant here, but
No one's watching this. Every viewer is on the podcast right now. So
Yeah, Moreau and
That's
Varane
not true.
got
Young
this
Park.
right.
this is masturbation. Oh yeah, Young. Shout out, Young Park.
all right, boys, here we go.
Maybe
Huddle up,
Bino will
gather
give us
around.
a look.
Gather around. Papa Hondo's got a little something to share. All right, so upgrades this week. I love Devontae Adams against Pittsburgh in a bounce back game after a tough outing against New England. He'll face Levi Wallace this week, who allows 16 yards per catch, which is the third highest in the league. And also, Levi Wallace allows the 11th most air yards, averaging 14.2. So, fire up Devontae Adams. I loved Stephon Diggs this week going against Chicago. We saw A.J. Brown just go bananas last week. And you have to imagine Diggs is going to do the same thing. Jalen Jones on the outside allows a 71% catch rate. We talked about Kyler Gordon a lot out of the slot. He allows 12 and a half yards per catch and has allowed an 82% catch rate. So, I don't see any chance of the Bears stopping this nasty Buffalo offense. St. Brown versus Carolina. AJ Brown. Wait. No, excuse me. I apologize. St. Brown. St. Brown has averaged almost 10 targets per game over the last 8 weeks. So, I mean, this is elite wide receiver material right here when you think about getting 10 targets in a game. He's going to be going out of the slot, and he's going to be facing Miles Hartsfield, who is actually a safety. He's not even a cornerback, so he's going to be playing the slot as a safety for Carolina. He allows a 77% catch rate, and he's basically allowed 4 touchdowns this season. I see a lot of kind of scrunched eyes. What's up?
Well, Landon's just talking.
Oh, sorry.
Is someone joining our podcast? Dana?
No. Nope. Yep. No, we're good. All right.
All right, and so here's one that's kind of a little tricky. So I like Chris Olave a lot this week. He's gonna be going up against Denzel Ward.
He's been ruled out, bro.
He was ruled out earlier.
Oh man.
Oh, well, in that case, I guess.
Scratch.
Damn it.
Sorry,
Start
I didn't
over.
hear that. When you're out of the playoffs, you just don't follow this stuff nearly as much. So.
What about Deebo Samuel? Do you like
I got
Deebo
that push
Samuel?
notification a few hours ago.
Hey, check this out, though. Here's some downgrades, okay?
Darnell Mooney
first
this
one,
week. Woo.
Marquise Goodwin, popular waiver wire pickup this week, but I don't like him. He's going up against KC, and we'll face L'Jarius Sneed. He's only allowed 8.8 yards in his coverage this season. Michael Gallup, he's playing the outside mainly for Dallas. We've seen Dak kind of struggle here lately. Lamb runs out of the slot, as we know. He's 63% out of the slot. Gallup only 11% out of the slot. So he's either going to face Slay or Bradbury on the outside. I don't like that matchup whatsoever. Zay Jones matchup. You can kind of see it going on in this game if you're watching.
Zero.
Bad matchup going against Sauce Gardner, who's allowed a 44% catch rate and no TDs on the season. Actually kind of a crazy stat here is the Jets have only allowed 6 passing TDs this season since week 4, and that's basically a league low. So don't like Zay Jones. Drake London, another player who I know nobody's really using, but we got Ritter Didn't look good as a rookie. Yeah, you're welcome. Asking me twice. I had to tell you twice not to play him. We got a rookie Ritter playing.
Thanks,
He didn't
Geoff.
look great. He's got to face Baltimore now, which is just going to be a nasty defensive matchup for him. Again, we're not playing a whole lot of London, but if you are, he's going to be facing a lot of Marlon Humphrey, and he has yet to let up a TD this year. So don't like that matchup. A couple other guys that I think are downgrades. Hopkins, obviously the QB change in Arizona. Don't love McSorley. And then he's also going to be going against the top cornerback in Jamal Dean. Pittman going against the Los Angeles Chargers, who've been playing great, but again, another quarterback change. Only scored twice this year as well, so I don't know what Big Nick is going to do for Michael Pittman. I don't think it's going to be good. McLaurin going against the nasty San Francisco D. And finally, DJ Moore. Can we trust Sam Darnold? I don't know. But Jeff Okudah has only been giving up 4.2 fantasy points per route. So that's route run, and has been playing a lot better this season than earlier on in the season. So those are some downgrades.
Fantastic.
Let's
Jeff,
get back to you, Josh, in the studio.
Thank you so much for your Hahndo Huddle. Before we get into the playoff matchups, because there's weather issues everywhere, I wanted to see if you guys knew and could throw some knowledge on our viewers how the weather and what type of weather really impacts these games. So have any of you guys done any research on this before?
Yeah,
I know
this
the
really,
New
let me tell you right
Orleans
now.
game is going to be heavy winds and just horrible conditions.
That's good analysis. So what really is hard is when in cold weather, the ball gets harder, okay? And it makes it really difficult for kickers to try to kick these hard balls long distances. So for all you guys playing kicker leagues out there, I would be aware of these cold weather games and to make sure that you're not playing kickers in these cold weather games. So again, but yeah, really no, I'm not worried. The only thing I really worry about is high winds when it comes to receivers. Rainy games, can certainly sometimes make cause fumbles for running backs and whatnot. But really, the only thing that ever concerns me is high winds, and I'm talking over 15, 20 mile per hour, 30 mile per hour.
Yeah, but even with that, you can't bank on anything because for every game like the the Bills Patriots last year, which was played in some terrible weather. Yeah, for every game like that, you get a Bills Dolphins last week, which was awesome.
But that game just never happened. Like the weather never. It wasn't that the weather.
The weather stayed south of Buffalo.
Exactly.
Yeah,
well, it was snowy as fuck, wasn't it? I mean, come on.
No,
in the city, but I don't think it actually was out like it was stadium.
Yeah. All right, well, fuck you then.
But the one interesting thing though, in snow games, sometimes though, you can have those like crazy LaShawn McCoy games, right, where guys just can't get traction and they're just running all over the place.
A guy like a Devontae Adams or somebody gets a screen pass and they're they're slipping and sliding all over the place.
Right. Yeah. It's fun to watch. They're ice skating back there, cornerbacks.
Yep. And Jeff, you basically nailed the nail on that. The research that I've done, which is just Googling, was basically high winds, 15 miles per hour, and then like exponentially worse at 20 miles per hour will affect the game. Rain doesn't affect it unless it's massive rain or combined with wind. And then snow, same thing. Unless it's massive snow, it really doesn't affect it. The cold weather is not a problem. If it in and of itself is not a problem for any of the offenses. And for all of these things, the passing yards go down, rushing goes up, and the points per game goes down either slightly or massively, depending on it. So we'll see. I know the Cleveland game's going to be bad. Like Matt said at the beginning, this Jacksonville game was supposed to be bad and has slowed down quite a bit since that first quarter. But yeah.
Evan Ingram's doing great, though, Grossman.
I know. He's the best.
Number 4 tight end in fantasy.
It's bullshit.
For the year?
Number 86 pickup on waiver wire.
Crazy. All right, let's go over.
Grossman's got to get to the century mark. That's what I'm rooting for.
For what? Pickups?
Waiver wire moves, yep.
One more week.
Yeah.
All right. We will look at the 1 versus 4. Crispy Taco versus my low score wins right for Chris's team. And I'm just going to ask questions to all of you guys because I wasn't sure who's going to show up. So
7
just
for
jump on in.
113.
Wow.
Okay. Was Tom Brady the right QB for Chris to play? The other options were Watson, who's on his bench, Daniel Jones, Carr, Russell Wilson, Purdy, and Pickett were all on the waivers. Just jump in. Was Tom Brady the right choice? Yes, no. Who would you have gone with?
So before you start, I'll tell you. I would say so. The reason I did that, the reason I did it is because you're playing Godwin. That's number one. Two, he's got a good matchup.
Okay. Valid. All right.
It's a safe floor. He's averaged two passing TDs over the last 5 weeks. So compared to Watson, I would maybe prefer who's in that bad weather like we talked about. I'd probably prefer Brady over Watson. But
Derek Carr,
Jones. Love Daniel Jones this week, so I think he was out there. He could have got him.
Those other guys, they're so risky. I mean, Daniel Jones, sure, he can have a good game, but he can also shit the bed. And Derek Carr, I fucking hate him. He made me lose my matchup with Bryden, scoring less than 3 points. So never play him. It's just they're all risky. So I think, like Gio said, safe floor with Brady.
Okay. Over-under questions. Chris is obviously going to play A.J. Brown, but he has Minshew now. Hurts is injured for at least one game. Do you think A.J. Brown scores over or under 14 points? Matt?
I'm going to go under.
Bryden?
Under.
Chris?
Ask me. Over. Dude, Minshew is he's a hot shot. You see that mustache?
He's so good.
Come on now.
So hot.
He's so hot right now.
So hot.
Jeff?
Well, he's playing for Mike Leach, so maybe there's something to it. I don't know.
Over, boys, and here's why. All right, so we got. I mean, what do we need to get 14 points? 4 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown. Yes, he's got all 3 of those. Yeah, so there we go. Gardner Minshew he's serviceable. He knows how to move the ball. 14 points easily achieved by Mr. A.J. Brown.
Landon, you agree?
I agree.
All right. Who has more points at the end of the week, Jacobs or Dobbins? Go around the horn. Just go.
Jacobs.
Dobbins.
Jacobs.
Dobbins.
Jacobs.
All right.
We got 2 on Dobbins.
Yeah.
Does Hopkins?
3-2.
Does Hopkins score above more over or under 10 points? Landon?
I'd say over barely.
Jeff?
He's going to get force-fed the ball.
Yeah, 10 points is so low, and he's just going to be a target monster. So, yeah, I'd have to say over.
Mm-hmm. Matt?
I'm saying over.
Brian? Like
over. They'll probably have to play from behind. They'll have to air it out, and I don't think. Who's the quarterback now?
McSorley.
Is it?
Trace.
Oh, I thought it was the
Colt
got hurt.
Oh shit!
How
Okay,
are you in the playoffs?
All right. Well, I don't have to worry about the Colt McCoy. I don't have to worry about the Arizona quarterback situation. That's how I'm in the playoffs. But all right. Good luck there, Chris.
Chris, you think he's going to get over or under 10?
He'll be over. I think he's going to get a lot of receptions, but not very high yardage. Probably no touchdown.
All right.
Sadly.
It's in hindsight, but for my team, would you guys have started Lawrence or gone with Daniel Jones, who I decided to go with?
Daniel Jones. I think it's a smart play. I didn't like Lawrence coming into this game against the Jets D.
Okay. Anybody think I made the wrong move?
I do.
I think so. Yeah, I do.
So. Yeah,
I mean, Lawrence was the hot hand.
Yeah,
Yep.
I would have ridden the hot hand.
Which 2 would you start? And Chris, you don't have to offer any advice since it's going against you. DJ Moore, Mike Williams, or Pittman? Pinder.
DJ Moore, Mike Williams, or Pittman. I would go.
Who would you not start?
Who would I not start? I'd probably not start Pittman.
Bryden.
I probably wouldn't start DJ Moore.
Chris, you don't have to answer. Jeff.
I'd take Williams over all of them and probably go DJ Moore second, then Pittman last.
Landon.
Agree with Gio.
All right. Who wins?
My pick was Grossman before this Evan Ingram blow up, so I'm sticking with Grossman.
That's bullshit.
I'm sticking with Rolance. He's clearly made a deal with the devil this season, and I don't see that wearing off.
I'm gonna go with Rolance. I think his RBs are gonna have great weeks this week.
Jeff?
Yeah, I gotta go crispy burrito here.
Oh,
I think
burrito.
I think Chris is going 0-3 against me. All right, next matchup.
Unfortunately.
2 versus the 3. Bryden versus Matt. For Bryden's team, Andrews has had 7 mediocre to just plain bad games in a row. With Cleveland weather predicted to be so bad, would you guys have ever contemplate starting Taysom Hill over Andrews? Landon?
No.
Just
No.
shaker. No across the board. Okay, bad question.
What about Dawson Knox? What about Dawson Knox?
What about Dawson Knox? Do you have Dawson Knox? Oh, you do.
Dude, I've got so many tight ends. I've got every tight end in the
Not
league.
against Atlanta. I think Andrews against Atlanta is going to be
I would-
a nice.
I'd go Knox over
You
Andrews.
go Knox. There's too many. I don't know. There's too many options for Buffalo. I think it's so boom or bust for Knox right now.
Yeah, but when you get into those games, like everybody's going to get theirs too. I mean, like when you get into those high-scoring games, like I just feel like Buffalo, they try to start distributing the ball around so that everybody gets their touches and can kind of have a decent day.
If there's multiple red zone opportunities, then he could have a great game.
Yeah.
Sure. Does Hurts not playing help or hurt Miles Sanders? Just jump in.
I think it helps Miles Sanders. Obvious with Hurts being the big running quarterback that he is. Minshew can run too, but not to the extent that Hurts can. If they do get down to the red zone, Hurts is always probably the number one threat to run the ball in, and that will probably be gone. So I think it's a boost for Sanders, I think.
I'm hoping it's a boost for Sanders. Minshew's more of a check down type guy. I'm hoping he'll look for Sanders.
Yeah, look, so Sanders, he doesn't care about your fantasy team. He's made that clear this week. So, but that being said, I think Sanders will continue to be a horse for this team, especially this week with Minshew. The Dallas D hasn't been that impressive as of late. Over the last 3 weeks, they've averaged 90 rushing yards against them for the top running backs. So when you think about it, Jonathan Taylor had 82 rush yards on 21 carries. Pierce had 78 yards on 22 carries. And ETN had 103 yards on 19 carries. So, I think Sanders is going to have a nice little game this week.
Okay. Akers has been serviceable, but he's going up against a tough Denver defense. Would any of you guys bench Akers for either DPJ or James Cook?
Yeah, I think James Cook is a good option here in this game that may have a positive game script for him, given that I do believe Buffalo will win this game handedly, and they might get Cook in there late in the game. We've seen him clean up in garbage time a little bit, so that's what I like. That I mean, that's the play I like. Now, the one thing about Akers, he might be the safer play, because if it is a negative game strip and Cook doesn't get in there, you have to run against Denver. That's the best way to beat them. And certainly Baker Mayfield isn't going to be able to beat these cornerbacks on the outside, so they're going to have to move the ball on the ground. So he's going to get his touches early and often. So that's the one thing that he is a little bit safe.
Yep. Anybody disagree?
No disagreements. Right. Question though, what happened to Kyron Williams? What's going on there? How does Akers go from?
I don't know. So I laid out some pretty good money in my fab for him because all the podcasts and stuff I was reading said this guy, they want to work him in. He was hurt most of the first half of the season. They said, especially with Cam Akers' issues, I don't know, he had just like suckitis or can't get right syndrome. And it said this guy is going to become their feature back. Well, he started playing, and it never materialized to the point where I dropped him, and Cam Akers has really come on the last 2 weeks. Actually, their game was on television here last week, and he looked pretty spry. Cam Akers had some bursts I hadn't seen from him probably since he got hurt last season. So that's why I'm optimistic that he can kind of keep this thing going. I mean, I know they're not playing for anything, but I think Cam Akers is playing for pride and probably next season.
Yeah, so let me jump in here. I got a theory on this, if you don't mind. So obviously we know the Rams have traded all the way. They don't have any draft picks, right? They have basically no draft capital for the future, and we've seen them kind of struggling here as of late, in particular on the offensive line. So they need to try to stir some things up. So they've made a move to acquire Baker Mayfield, as we all know. And what I've heard is that the reason they brought him in to be the starter is they're looking to kind of build him up, make him look like the guy, and then hopefully trade him off for some draft capital. Okay, I believe they're looking to do the same thing with Cam Akers, a guy who was on the trading block going into the trade. They clearly saw something with Williams because they traded away Henderson. Like, why would they give away one of their starting running backs if they didn't necessarily think that they had enough depth behind Akers to kind of follow that up? So I believe what they're trying to do at this point is showcase Akers, his talent, and look to try to move him in the offseason if they can. And then look to bring in Williams next year.
They tried to, but as you say, they didn't get a freaking nibble on the guy, although he was coming off.
We have no idea. I mean, we don't know
Well,
we have no idea what calls were going on between GMs.
You think they wouldn't have moved him for a third or fourth rounder? But the guy hadn't shown anything.
No, I think they're looking to try to get more. They have.
He hadn't shown anything. He hadn't shown anything all season. But now, as to your point, he has. The last few weeks, he has shown some signs of life, and I think there could be some merit to what you're saying there. Hahndo.
Jeff, just to add to what you were saying, so Baker is a free agent after this year, and if any other team signs him, the Rams get some draft compensation. So you're spot on there. They don't need to trade him though; they just need someone else to pick him up. But the Akers points could all favor him in this type of matchup if he can get it going. For Matt, with Olave out, Matt is starting. Now I don't know anymore because he's changed his team over and over again. Goodwin, but Goodwin has ankle and wrist injuries and went from a full practice earlier in the week to limited for most of the week. Would you guys bench Goodwin for anybody on Matt's bench?
I would.
Who would you start?
There's nobody really usable on my bench, so I'm probably going to be looking elsewhere for someone if he's out.
Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting. Like, it's funny. I looked through it. There's actually some interesting waiver wire options out there that could be picked up and potentially.
Like who?
I'm looking at the Houston wide receivers. Brandon Cooks, for example, he's coming back this week. It could be an interesting pickup against a terrible Tennessee cornerback situation, right? And, we've seen Davis Mills here the last few weeks. They've been extremely competitive in games, throwing the ball around and stuff like that. So, look.
Get him, Fender.
It would be somebody I'd look to pick up. Chris Moore, I think, is
I've got
injured.
my eye on someone on waivers, so we'll see if it goes through.
Who is
Chris
it?
Moore is injured, and so that's another guy that, I don't even know if he's necessarily going to play. And then who's the other guy? Who's the third wide receiver?
Nico Collins.
Nico Collins, he's out. So, yeah, there you go. I mean, I think Brandon Cooks could be a strong value add at this point.
Again, hindsight.
Grossman, waiver move, number 82. Here it goes.
I'm blocking Fender. I'm not even going against him.
You have no fab budget.
Would you guys have benched Zay Jones with the weather and the tough matchup as
1,000%.
And it looks like the right move.
Him and Christian Kirk. I would have benched them both.
Would any of you guys start Dallas's defense against Philly and then Minshew versus rather than Tennessee against Houston?
No.
No, I actually. If I have to choose one of these two,
that's the question.
If that's truly what it is. Well, the reason I say this is I actually think there's some better options out there on the waiver wire.
More pickups
as well. Yeah, so I'm looking at Tampa Bay's out there. I think that's a great matchup for them that I would look to maybe pick them up. The Chargers going against Nick Foles. We don't know necessarily how Nick is going to play. The New York Jets were out there, but they may have been locked to where they couldn't have been picked up. But they are definitely out on the waiver wire. So New Orleans could be a sneaky game. We know the weather situation going to be low scoring, so pretty solid defense. And then Detroit might even be a little sneaky as well. They've been playing better. So
they have been playing good. All right, who wins this one?
Bryden.
Yeah, I got to go Bryden. I just don't like Fender's matchups when I look down this list.
I don't like all this unanimity behind me.
But I'm just saying, Jerry Jeudy is one of my favorite plays this week. We got Sutton coming back, and
Everybody's
Honestly, Darren Waller coming back for Fender makes me very upset because I've been burned by that guy many times in other leagues, and I just don't like to see it.
Everybody can say Bryden because all three of you said Moreau last week.
Yeah.
I always have to go against you, though, Fender. It's just like it's my contract, I think.
Tradition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tradition. Yeah.
What was it like? Whatever. It doesn't matter.
No, go ahead.
No, it's all good. Let's continue.
Okay, that does it for Clowntown. We're going to talk a little Dynasty. Guys, you're more than welcome to stay on. Otherwise,
I'm hopping off. I don't care about that thing. But on a personal note, this league has been a pleasure, and it's been my pleasure to come in and immediately dominate, make the playoffs.
You got lucky to make the playoffs.
We just want to make sure you come back next year.
Yeah, right.
Whatever we need to say to keep you.
Yeah. It was collusion. It was collusion to get you in the playoffs.
Let's get shit for back end.
Hey, if it benefits me, I'll take it every day. And
You're right, Bryden. You dominated.
Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah, fellas.
Hey, Merry Christmas,
You as well, buddy.
You as well.
Yeah, fellas, I'm out as well.
I'm going to duck out as well since Landon.
I destroyed you last week.
Dynasty last week. So thanks to Trevor Lawrence and my own player, Zay Jones, ended up kicking me in the ass in Dynasty. So good luck this week, Landon.
Yeah, I'm going to need it. Thank you.
Yeah, take it easy, fellas. Good luck to everybody except Grossman.
All right, guys. Thanks again for joining us.
Guys, thanks for joining.
See you guys.
Peace.
All right, we will quickly touch on our Dynasty League since that is playoffs.
Is Grossman frozen for anybody else? This is just me.
Am I?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
But I can hear you great. Keep talking.
Okay.
No, you're good for me.
My sexy voice. All right, looking at last week's playoffs, Landon rushed with the big upset of Matt Fender, 184-163. The guy who gave up way too early in the season is on to the second round.
In the semifinals.
We all expected the Jewish Ditka to beat Moreau's team, although Moreau put up a decent amount of points. Looking at this week, let's go to the real playoffs first. Landon takes on his brother-in-law, Bino. Let me see what questions I have. I'm going to go out of order. Sorry, guys.
It doesn't matter. I'm going to get destroyed.
Yeah, and they're not even relevant at this point.
No.
Jeff, is there any chance that Landon could pull this out?
It's going to take a lot.
Okay. Are you? All right, I'll ask a serious question. Does it make you feel pretty set for the future that Trevor Lawrence looks like an absolute stud?
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. I wasn't thrilled about getting him as my second quarterback, but yeah, he looks really, really good. It's nice to have Allen and Lawrence locked up for quite some time here. So yeah,
many years.
You remember like in week 4 when I picked him up, I spent about $30 on the waiver wire. I could have had him for $1 or whatever. I was like, man, this guy, he's gonna be great, and I dropped him too soon.
Yeah, he looks real good.
I did get Fields as a result. So yeah, that wasn't what I was going for. I wasn't trying to pat my back or anything like that.
No. It was It was the right call. It was just a little too early. Well, Landon, we wish you luck in that one.
Yeah.
You know, Jeff hopes
good luck. I mean, I hope you win. I really do.
I think actually Jeff and I are both rooting against you since we have your draft picks for the first and second round. But we wish you luck. The other matchup in
Thank
the
you so
final,
much.
why am I struggling so much to find? Cheelan's going against the Jewish Ditka. This one should be a good one as well. No roster decisions here, so just give me your take. What do you think happens in this one?
I think Cheelan, he's got a really good team. So I got to go with Cheelan on this one.
You're going to take Cheelan?
Wait. Who's on the right?
That's
the Jewish Ditka.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Give me the Jewish Ditka. Give me the Jewish Ditka on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go that way as well.
Scrolling, it looks good. Looks really good. They both got good teams, but
they have good teams.
These are two very good teams.
The Jewish Ditka has a lot of very old guys, so his window is very small. But Kelsey, with such a huge.
Kelsey's going to have a freaking day, man.
Yeah. As long as Seattle can keep it close. But yep, I agree. I think the Jewish ticket takes this one. In the not real playoffs, but important for draft picks, I am going against Jeff Hahn. Where's that one? Why am I struggling right now? That's at the top. There we go. I don't think did I do any questions? Oh, I did. I did want to know.
Yeah, you had quite a few questions. Yeah.
All right, we don't have to spend that long. I did want to know though. So Jeff does not have a second QB that is starting because of Tannehill, and Minshew was on the waivers, and you have the most money, the most fab of any team. Did you just not know that Tannehill at the time was thought to be a question mark for the week?
I didn't think it was as serious maybe as what it was, so I kind of blew it off a little bit. And I'm just being honest, but last week was a pretty tough week for me through fantasy. Honestly, I lost in one of my other leagues in the playoffs, and that was disappointing. No, I'm just saying, like, it just got me to the point, and I was obviously already out of Clowntown. It just got to the point of like just utter disgust after Jonathan Taylor saw him get put on the IR, and I just kind of threw my hands up and really neglected to pay any attention or a whole lot more attention, the attention that I usually do. Let's just say that. And it was a bad move by myself, and I have no one else to blame but myself for just not being. I guess I was looking to be reactive instead of proactive, and it was a poor decision that I'm regretting going into this week. That's for sure.
Yeah. I woke up in the morning. I thought I was no chances getting Minshew, and we got him for $3. The last $3 I had.
I put out a bid. I was like, why am I even doing this? All right. Well, I'm going to skip most of these questions because it's been a while. I did want to get your take though. Pickett versus Vegas. Watson, who has not been playing great in bad weather. Would you guys go the same? And Jeff, feel free to not answer, but would you guys go Pickett or Watson?
Let's go Pickett.
All right. That seems nonchalant.
Yeah,
Who wins this
Watson's
one?
been horrible. Let's go with who did I put? Grossman.
Which one?
This is our matchup.
Yeah, I think you probably got this one.
I hope so. And then the
I'm just so annoyed. Like, there have been so many. I've never had this many injuries to a single team. Like, I have like
your
6
team.
guys.
Can we go back to it?
Ridiculous.
Your team is loaded with injuries.
It's unbelievable, man. Like,
how do I get?
Yeah, I mean, you go to my IR spots. Every single piece was a starter at one point for my team. It's absolutely absurd. Like, and that, again, that's just one of those things where I'm just
Michael Thomas, who was pretty early. Bateman, Robinson was showing signs.
Robinson was my wide receiver.
Taylor,
my running back.
A lot of these guys are those like one-off games.
Yeah, I know, I get that.
You can't. The fact that you can't even move them to your IR is kind of laughable. So
totally agree.
It's been a rough year, but you have a lot of.
Sorry, Geoff.
Nah, I'm looking forward to next year.
Last matchup to look at is Chris's.
Hey, there's always next year, right?
That's right.
If you guys have a better name, please let me know. Chris's matchup against Blackman. Just who do you think wins this one?
Blackman.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
I don't even know who's on anyone's team, so yeah, sure, Blackman.
Sure, Blackman.
Hurts is out. I mean, like, Chris has Hurts. He's out. He's got Mac Jones in there, who has been struggling.
He's gross.
Yeah, I mean,
man.
Chris lost Ben Skoranek. You know, I mean, a couple, and what he has Sutton, I think, too, and Goodwin. We don't.
Fender added Brandon Cooks.
We could use this show just to script what Fender will do the following week. Jeff, who else?
Yeah, I gotta
name
go.
some random player.
Name some random player right now.
Should pick up.
Adare Agumawale.
There we go. That's the pickup of week 17.
Yeah,
I love it. All right, guys. Well,
like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Smash that button.
Fantasy Inception's almost over, but it's been a pleasure, and good luck to anybody who's still watching this far into it. Peace.
And still in the playoffs. Absolutely. Later, fellas. Happy holidays.